All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday night class for the Life Mastery Group with me, Matthew Brownstein. We started this about 14 weeks ago because this is class 7 of the Life Mastery Path. So I think most of you who are here have been through the journey up to this point. So tonight, let me show you the PowerPoint so you can see what we're getting into. Feel free to ask questions at any time. Feel free to interact in any way, use the chat pod or raise your hands. Happy to keep it interactive. So we'll go into the bodhisattva vows tonight a little bit. So we're basically looking at deep spiritual principles about how to get your life into a beautiful space so that every aspect of your life you're doing well, spiritually fulfilled, connected, you have true meaning, true purpose, you know who you are, you know what you're meant to do on the planet, mentally and emotionally healthy, you've used techniques, so your mind is clear, your heart is open, you're free of all the negative emotional pain that most people struggle with. In Life Mastery, we're talking about your physical health. So you are fit and toned and trimmed and you're strong and flexible. You know, the best you can take care of a human body. To me, that's in the category of mastery. You're exercising, you're eating well, ideal body weight, those kind of things. You sleep well, right? We work on these things for life mastery. And then we talk about career and financial success to use the power of the mind to help every aspect of your life to be doing well. So career and finances, you have enough money for all your needs, for your wants, for your savings, and for your tithing to be able to give away, to be philanthropic, which relates a lot to tonight's class, the enlightened life and actually walking the talk. So let me show you where we are. Then there's other life categories, but we'll get to those. We're in class 7. So we've been really laying a foundation of different spiritual themes and traditions that have influenced me a lot. Obviously, these aren't the only ones. They're not necessarily the best ones, but for me, in many ways, they are some of the most refined versions of spiritual practices. For instance, we talked about A Course in Miracles. It could be said that this is a highly refined version of Christianity. We've taken out a lot of the extra stuff that's in scripture, and we basically have very clear teachings that help to align our mind with different words for that: spirit, God, light, love, truth, the atonement principle, Christ consciousness, the collective awakening we're all going through. The A Course in Miracles is beautiful to align your mind, to help to align your life. And then Zen, talking about paths that go really deep, that synthesize. So as Christianity, you might say A Course in Miracles is a modified version of that in a sense, like the most modern version. I'm sure people disagree with that statement, but I've come to accept that in many ways. In the path of Zen, we're talking about one of the most refined branches of Buddhism, right? Where they said, okay, well, what did Buddha do? He strove for enlightenment, which is what tonight is about, living enlightenment. The Buddha was all about enlightenment and the relief of suffering for all beings. And he basically sat under the Bo tree and he meditated. At least those last 6 months was really, he just sat. And Zen really just follows that tradition. There's just a lot of sitting in Zen practice. Not only that, and one thing about tonight we'll get into, Zen often speaks about live your Zen, or a Zen master would say, show me your Zen, right? If they ask you, what is Zen? If you just give some intellectual understanding, you don't quite get it. The master might say, show me your Zen, right? Are you living, are you being Buddha right now? And what does it mean to be Buddha living in the world? So if Buddha you might say is another word for Christ consciousness, not Jesus, but consciousness, Buddha consciousness, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness. What would it mean to be living from that place on this earth? And what would your life look like? Yogic philosophy, in my humble opinion, is one of the most refined versions of what we find in the Indian continent, largely from the religion of Hinduism, but of course there's many other religions in India. But if we said, what are some of the most refined versions of the Judeo-Christian tradition? Consider A Course in Miracles. I'm not saying I'm the only authority on that statement. So again, find your own way, take what you like, leave what you don't. The Zen path, very refined Buddhism, and yogic philosophy, very refined, let's just say mysticism in general, a direct path of experiencing the divine. And then Anahat meditation, for me, is a synthesis, an integration of all of those teachings based on sacred geometry in a way that somehow presents through me. So tonight we'll go into living enlightenment, what it means to enter the marketplace with helping hands in relationship to the Life Mastery course. Well, first of all, I'm going to review these briefly. We talked about in past classes the Buddhist ox herding pictures. This is the picture that represents tonight's teaching. And it'll relate to life mastery because it's you entering back into the world to fulfill your mission, to fulfill your purpose. So in the life mastery course, we get clear in your vision. Your vision is always about what you'll be doing to be of service to others. So the taller person here is someone who's been through the whole path. They've reached all the fruits of their practice. You could say they're enlightened. They've awakened to who they truly are. Yet in our model, we're talking not just about self-realized, where you know who you are spiritually. You've woken up to that, which is important in life mastery, but it's self-actualized, that every category of your life is successful. So I think a lot of you, I know I noticed, there seems like a quickening of an awakening happening in the planet, right? It used to take a long time to get this type of material. If you wanted to learn yoga, Zen, Christianity, Jewish mysticism, if you want to go deep into the ancient mysteries, you'd have to go to libraries and study books, and you could take a month to get through one book. Now you go to YouTube and you've got people synthesizing all the world's knowledge into one place. And there really is a quickening and awakening where people are catching on that there are deep teachings that haven't been hidden from us, but have been hard to access. So anyway, all of those teachings basically come to the same conclusion, aside from their philosophical and religious perspectives. It almost always comes back to service of others, right? Where you are a healed healer and you enter the marketplace with helping hands. So tonight, I hope to help you to use the Life Mastery course, aspects of it, to paint a picture of what would your life look like when you're doing your parts. So in A Course in Miracles, which uses the G word, God, it says you have a part of fulfilling God's plan for salvation. And the Course teaches you're not your own creator. It also teaches you didn't create the plan for salvation, and only God's plan for salvation will work in A Course in Miracles. So the question would be, who is this God character? Who are you? Which is really the main question. And then did something, someone, some being, did that create you? And does that being have a plan for you? Like, these are just human words, but they're worth contemplating, right? Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Do I have a purpose? Is there a meaning to this life experience? In A Course in Miracles, it says, God did not create a meaningless world, and you're not your own creator. Spirit is aware that they're suffering, right? You could say divine consciousness is aware that human beings, we'll just say that for now, are not happy, are not necessarily all wealthy, are not necessarily all in relationships. People are lonely. People are suffering from war. I don't have to tell you about all the negative stuff going on the planet, right? But in the midst of all of that, how can we be part of the solution? So that's very much what tonight's class is on. But before we get too far into that, if you want to learn more about A Course in Miracles, instituteofhypnotherapy.com/ACIM. I have 25 past classes on that. If you'd like to learn more about Anahat meditation, go to onlinemonastery.com. And we have a retreat happening up here in the Adirondack Mountains on the 23rd. The Enlightened Life is actually our conference in October the 11th, which relates exactly to tonight's class, Living a More Enlightened Life. We're doing our work in partnership with the World Happiness Foundation. Krista is part of that, is here. Good evening. And Luis Galardo, who founded this beautiful not-for-profit organization, has a goal. 10 billion people are happy by 2050. And part of why we partnered up is I've dedicated my life figuring out how do we get everybody, not just happy, 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 right? But you might say happy, healthy, thin, and wealthy, but like, what do we really mean by this? Enlightened, free, awakened to who we are, prosperous, living in harmony, right? Is this possible in this crazy world? Well, even if it's not, the teachings say you act without attachment to the fruits of your actions, right? We just put our whole heart into making the world a better place, and don't be attached to the outcome. Surrender that to source. But if we don't do our part, then it'll never happen. In A Course in Miracles, it says, for the atonement to occur, for us to all feel at one again. Atonement basically is just the experience of oneness, which is the solution here. When we know we're all one being and we're not fighting and competing over things, but we all share and cooperate equally, A Course in Miracles says that is a guarantee. Actually, when we look at this page, A Course in Miracles says, I thank you, God, for your guarantee of only happy outcomes. So, what is this happy outcome? In A Course in Miracles, it's called the atonement. Again, when we're all at one. And it teaches that we all have our part to play, and your part is essential. Nothing else will work, and nothing else can make you happy. So, the Life Mastery course is one of the best ways I know to teach people how to find their mission, their dharma, their purpose, the reason for your existence. Let's take a brief journey through the ox herding pictures again, just to give some context to why tonight's topic is so important for stage 10. In the beginning of the journey, we don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here. We're not happy. We're not fulfilled. You might have fleeting pleasures if conditions match the way you want it to be, right? You got the job, you got the car, you're making money, you're healthy, you're okay. But when things aren't feeling so good, you don't have any deep foundation. This is someone who's probably been suffering and ends up saying, there's got to be something more. Like, why am I here? Is it all just chaos? Is it just evolution? Just scripture hasn't given me all the answers. Like, what's going on here? When you're really saying that, who created us? Was there a creation? Were there gods? Were there Anunnaki and Elohim who were manipulating our genes 200,000 years ago? Like, how did we get? I mean, it's highly plausible, those type of statements. Like, who made human beings this way? Why is our genome actually modified? Like, what's going on? How come the moon is what it is? Do you know what that thing is? Like, what is that thing? Why is it that size? Why is it that close? Why is it only facing us? Why does it seem hollow when they crash things into it? Like, what's going on? If when you're asking those questions, you've entered the gates. You're in stage one, right? Who am I? Why am I here? Was this planet created? Is it flat? Is it round? What's going on, right? Eventually, you start finding the teachings because your law of attraction, your inner desires compelling you to start finding, what do people who know? What do the great masters know? What do the saints and sages teach? What did Plato teach? What do these people teach? Like, what's truly in the Bible? What are the Vedas saying? What are all the ancient cultures saying? Right? You start studying this stuff and you start synthesizing pieces of the puzzle. But there's one thing all the teachings point to, no matter what they're doing, they're all pointing to you. They're saying you've lost yourself. In the midst of all of it, you're caught up in the past, you're thinking about the future, you're looking outside yourself for joy, but you haven't turned within. Once you realize the journey is inwards, then you start to eventually have glimpses of the higher reality. You start realizing, oh, there is love, there is peace, there is joy. And wherever I go, there it is. It's inside of me. You start experiencing more of this oneness. You get these glimpses. You might start having a third eye opening. You start seeing into other dimensions. You're like, whoa, multiple dimensions occupy the same space. These are out of phase with us, but they're right here. So opening to a world of interdimensional beings, opening to Buddhas and bodhisattvas and saints and sages who are non-physical, you start realizing there are a lot of beings, physical and non-physical, working to fix this planet, right? And you start like awakening to there's something more, but you're only getting glimpses of this something bigger happening here. In stages 4 and 5, simply stated, you realize you're the problem. Your mind, your ego specifically, your emotions, your fears, your anger, grief, guilt, all the grievances that we hold, it clouds our view. We don't see what's clear. So the spiritual path and moving towards life mastery has to be tame the ox, disciplining the body, the mind, the emotions, stop running around in useless journeys. And you actually start taking more time for stillness, for meditation, for introspection, realizing the answers aren't outside of you, the answers are inside of you. The path is pretty much always a refocusing of the attention inwards. We're actually in the path moving from form to formless, from time and space to what's beyond time and space, to an illusion, which is just changing and finite and temporary, to reality, which you might say the masters teach us is immortal and eternal and everything you'd ever want to feel. So it's always just pointing the attention back inwards. And then you realize, well, my inwards are a mess. I'm angry. I'm scared. I can't stop my mind. I don't find God in here. I just find egoic chaos, right? So you have to clean that up. The real work is spiritual discipline. Eventually, you start riding the ox home. It's all about you, right? You might say the spiritual path is a total narcissism in these stages. It's all about self. I got to fix me. And you have to become a healed healer, right? Christ said, physician, heal thyself. So at some point, you're kind of getting to the feeling of feeling healed. You're not needing a whip and a rope. You're playing your flute. You're riding the ox home. Life is unfolding. You're feeling more meditative bliss here. You're probably tapping into more spiritual experiences. You're hearing more of the divine speaking to you. You're tapping into what A Course in Miracles and, of course, Christianity calls the Holy Spirit. There's a voice in there, not all the crazy neurotic voices, but one voice that speaks for truth consistently, always, and it has all the answers. So I'm guiding us tonight to the Life Mastery section on your vision. What is your vision? Vision in the chakra system is your third eye region. Christ said, when thine eyes are two, the body's full of darkness. When thine eye is single, the body's full of light. So are your insides filled with light and divine consciousness? Like, to me, the experience of deep, deep meditation called samadhi, when you're in that formless space, there's this cocoon of knowing, this space that Christian mystics call the cloud of unknowing. It's here I am, I exist, but there's really no boundary. It's just one with the infinite consciousness. As you're tapping into that more and more, your mind gets very, very quiet. Your heart is clear, your mind is clear. And if you ask a question like, God, who am I? You'll get answers, but you have to learn to get really quiet. What am I meant to do? Or a better question is, how may I serve? How can I be of service? When you do that, the energy you start receiving, and A Course in Miracles, and in traditional scriptures called a revelation. But revelation's not a two-way street. You don't tell God who you are. You don't tell Source, that which created you, who you are. You let the divine intelligence tell you who you are. So revelation doesn't go from you to God, it goes from God to you. You can call God whatever you want, but having a word for it, if you go into meditation and just say, okay, Buddha, okay, Kuan Yin, okay, Christ, somebody talk to me. I like the model that you don't have to find God. God already knows where you are. and God is right here now. That intelligence is here now. You're a fractal of the whole universe. Like, everything is inside of you. When you're doing in stage 6, you're loving your inner world. It's so much more intoxicating than anything can feel on the outside. But again, it's not just about the bliss, it's about the guidance and the vision that starts unfolding, your vision. Eventually, this can definitely represent times of a lot of solitude and seclusion to really solidify your learning. A Course in Miracles calls it a sorting out period that eventually leads to a nice period of respite where you can just kind of rest, and CEO says ox forgotten. You're at the place where you're not struggling with your ego anymore. You can just sit down for hours and really, you don't even need to open your eyes. You don't have to do anything. Just the inner joy, the bliss is so fulfilling. I think it was Rumi said, why would you open your other eyes at all? Close your eyes and go inside and find the peace, love, joy, bliss inside of yourself. This is a lot of time spent with that. And the meditative state is called asmita samadhi, which means I'm meditating on the amness that I am. Even deeper than bliss, asmita samadhi is I'm meditating on the I am presence. I am conscious. The divine is infinite consciousness. There's infinite mind in that. And if I ask a question, I will receive an answer. Or if I just get quiet, I will receive answers. All right, that's really a lot of what the path is about. Here, there's really no ego getting in the way. If Spirit says, you're meant to write this book, you're like, you got it, right? You're meant to go open this ashram. Like, you're like, okay, you're going to go get this job. Okay, you're going to get a speeding ticket today. That happened to me once. I was sitting in meditation. The voice is like, you're getting a speeding ticket today. I said, no, you just told me. So I will be careful. And the voice said, no, you're not going to be paying attention. You'll get a ticket today. And I'm driving to my acupuncture college, and the first one I went to, and sure enough, I wasn't paying attention. I looked in the rearview mirror, and there's the lights, and I'm just like, "Hello," like I totally expected you. There wasn't even an argument. It's like, if God tells you you're going to get a ticket, just accept it. So my experience has been there is that voice, and that's what we'll talk about tapping into tonight, so you could fill out the rest of the Life Mastery course. Stage 8, ox and self-forgotten, relates to a state called nirvikalpa samadhi, where there's no more imagination. Vikalp means imagination, with imagination. Nirvikalpa is without imagination. So near without. They call it imagination. So what imaginings? Basically any fluctuations in your mind at all that are identifying and labeling anything. In this state, the mind doesn't really have to say anything. And reality is known better this way. So for instance, if you're making love with your partner, are you in your mind going, I really like this person. They sure are swell, right? I like how they smell. This is a good experience. I hope I could have this experience again. I mean, last time I had this experience, it wasn't quite this good. You're not making love, you're making love with your mind. You're just talking and thinking. If you truly want to experience someone, empty yourself, get blanket empty, and be one with your partner. This implies oneness with source, oneness with the divine. You've experienced the formless, the underlying ground of all being. The philosopher Paul Tillich referred to it as the underlying ground of all being. There's just a collective consciousness underneath it all, permeating it all. In this state, basically, you're experiencing that. But these stages can take years to go through, because what this means when you say, if somebody would and they wouldn't, say, hey, I'm on stage 8, what would a person like this, they wouldn't be saying that, right? There's no need, there's no ego to say that, but they've essentially reached the top of the mountain and they know it without having to flaunt it. It's just, there's no more mind. And the heart's totally clear and open. And body and mind drop away quite often in this state. So all you're experiencing is formless, not nothing, the mystical no thing. In Islam or in Sufism, fana al fila, the complete annihilation of your individual separate sense of self. So this used to be the top of the mountain in Buddhist thought. Actually, in Taoist thought, before these became Buddhist teachings, everybody was trying to get to nirvana, get to the top, reach enlightenment, get to heaven, and you can forget about all the other sinners. Right? Like, let's just get out of here. However, religion matured over the years, and they started realizing form is emptiness, emptiness is form. The source is one with all things, right? The nature and God are intimately one beyond belief, right? The consciousness of a rock isn't determined by the boundary of the rock, right? If you look at the molecular level of everything, it is all one. If you don't believe me, a good resource on this is Jill Bolt Lee Taylor. She was a scientist. I forget her exact credentials, but she's become quite well known. She had a stroke. And while she's lying on the floor, the part of her brain that could conceptualize wasn't working. And she just experienced that. She couldn't tell the difference between the floor and her face. And out of body travel, when you have an out of body experience, you can walk through walls and you'll see they're totally empty. There's nothing there but light vibrating into form, right? Isn't the in an atom, the most of the atom is actually empty space. And what are these particles actually made of? They're flipping in and out of existence. They're not even there all the time. So they're like doing things in other dimensions. Then when they come back in, what you're seeing is a complete illusion. And those who have reached stage 8 and then really got stage 9 is, whoa, what I am is one with all that is. That means every tree, every rock, every plant is you. In the Gospel of Thomas, the book of Thomas, which if I remember correctly is not in the canonical scriptures, Christ is quoted as saying, if you like open a rock, I am there. That's somebody who's lived in this state. He knows I am the consciousness within all things, right? And we're all one being. What happens though at this point is you start becoming exceptionally compassionate for the suffering of others, because you realize, whoa, I'm free. I'm liberated. Like literally, that's what the path is about. You become liberated of suffering, of pain, of lack, of limitation, of health problems. I mean, not that everything's called perfect. Of course, saints can get sick, and of course, saints can struggle with money, but generally, you've moved out of the ego's nightmare and you're living in the grace and goodness of harmony with the Tao. You're no longer caught up in your own personal karma. You're living your dharma. The ocean of life moves you, and you are just along for the ride. And if spirit's like, okay, time to teach here, you're like, okay, time to see this client. Okay, A Course in Miracles says when the teacher of God is ready, that's what this is in Course in Miracles terms. The teacher of God is the one on the left here. When he or she is ready, they don't go alone. They walk with mighty companions by their side, which is noteworthy. When you fulfill your mission, you never do it alone. And it is always of service to others, because that's the plan that you didn't create. So if you honor, I'm not my own creator, and I didn't create the plan for salvation. I'm part of that, Then you say, well, what is my part? And then there's no competition. You just do your part. I never look at other hypnotherapy schools or meditation things, or I just do me. And if people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. But you're just doing you. This teaching at stage 10 says, without recourse to mystic powers, withered trees he quickly brings to bloom. With because at this stage you are the light of the world and you know it, and just to be in someone's presence like this is a healing, is a mitzvah, you say in Judaism. I lived in India with a great saint at the highest level of guru. His name is Swami Sham. He's left his body now, but you can research him if you like. Swami Sham, beautiful being. When I gave him a hug for the first time, there's no one there. It's like just hugging pure light. There's a body, but not much else. Just the sweetest and funny and joyful. And they call him the happy guru. And people are like, I want a happy guru. You can study Lahiri Mahasaya from the SRF, the Self Realization Fellowship tradition. They tried to take pictures of him, as the story goes, but every time they did, they saw everybody else in the picture, but they only saw an orb of light where he was. And they said, Master, can we please take your picture? He said, you can photograph pure light. He said, but I will densify my bodily atoms so you can get a picture of my human form, so that you could take a look at the physical thing. But yeah, pure light. The rainbow body phenomena of the Tibetan yogis, they talk about monks who meditate for like 30 plus years, basically doing nothing, just sitting and maybe contemplating the aleph, or the ah sound, just the beginning of om, ah, om. They just literally meditate, just sit still and oh, ah. They just vibrate at the primal vibration of the universe, and their body transmutes into pure light. Some people believe that's what happened to Christ with the transfiguration and the whole crowd of the Shroud of Turin. So can we become highly divinized? Can we become superconductors for divine energy? The teachings say yes. You are the light of the world, right? And you're no different than any other great saint or sage. So I think what's happening on the planet with this awakening is we're really remembering you're not just a human being, you are a glorious spiritual being. The person on the left in this picture knows that. The person on the right doesn't. And the person on the left knows the person on the right is suffering tremendously because they don't know the truth of who they are. The truth is what sets you free, right? So the person on the right isn't just an average human being. This is someone who's entered the gates and is worthy of finding a true teacher because they're humble enough to listen. If you go to a Zen monastery, you knock on the stories, you knock on the door and they go, who is it? And if you say your name, they're like, go away. Knock again next day. Who is it? You say your name, go away. Third time, you say your name, go away. Knock, knock. Who is it? I don't know. Come on in. You're dumb enough to enter the gates. You've realized that you don't know. And Zen is called beginner's mind, or don't know mind. The student has that, but the master has that too, because the master knows reality is, and you don't have to make up philosophies. You're just one with the truth, and you're being of service to others. So the path used to be, let me reach nirvana and just be done. But as these paths evolved over centuries, it was, wait, we're one with all things. The Course in Miracles teaches the atonement principle means we all go together or we don't go at all. We all have to become self-realized. You can't, like, think about, imagine if you had 10 people in your family and you were, you and your spouse were liberated, but your kids weren't. And you knew your kids were going to just keep suffering. Would you just go to the Bahamas and let your let your kids suffer? No, you would help your children. What if everybody was your brother and sister? If you had your siblings suffering, would you let them suffer? No. What if you realized everybody's your brother and sister? What if you realize it's all myself? We're all one self. The masters, teach from that place. So I'll just show you a few pictures. Like when you see people sitting in meditation, there's a sense of mastery here. And we'll go into this in the retreat that's happening here in April. And looking at like, what's with the human form? This circle in the middle is the size, if you said this was the earth, this one on the top is the moon. The precision there is uncanny. And this is the Great Pyramid. And how does that relate to your body? Your body is the temple of spirit, which means who are you? You're spirit. You're not the body. You're the one inhabiting the body. You're the temple of spirit. That's the altar. The body is the temple. You're the altar. The altar is what's holy. The altar is what's sacred. So what are you? You're no small thing. If you use the G word, you're a child of God. That's no small thing. Angels bow to what you are. So, self-realization isn't just saying, "Oh, I guess I'm just a body, and I'm supposed to, I don't know, whatever job you came up with. I don't want to pick one to judge. It doesn't matter. Like you can mow a lawn, you could be a cosmetologist. Like that, whatever you do, Buddha could be serving you hamburgers. It doesn't mean you're doing anything that looks spiritual, but you've realized something deep, and you've realized I'm here to be of service. The secret to wealth is you find a need and fill it. And the world needs you to fulfill your mission. When you offer something valuable, the money follows. So, A Course in Miracles says, should the advanced teacher of God get paid to do this work? And it says, yes, but only to fulfill the mission, not for their own egoic gratification. So the money follows the mission. But the question is, do you know who you are and do you know your mission? If not, you're caught in more of an illusion than you may know. You're caught in what they call samsara, cycles of birth and death, or avidya, ignorance of the truth. Like the biggest cause of suffering in Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is avidya. It's the root klesh, the reason for all suffering, avidya, not knowing. You don't know who you are. Why are the pyramids there? Why are they shaped that way? Were they just burial chambers? Like, what have we forgotten? I guess just be, who is it? Graham Hancock called it us a species with amnesia. Like, what are the human origins and why are we here and who are we, where are we going? So that's, when we start studying the mysteries. But anyway, to relate it to, let's go here for a moment. Life mastery involves all the chakras are open, so it's worth learning about that if you're not familiar, how to get all of your energy open. But the picture of enlightenment, if we can use that term, the center channel called the Sushumna is totally open. Light can flow up and down through your being without any hindrance or blockage, or some of you might know the word sanskar or samskaras. You've got to clear all the blockages to love's presence in the enlightenment process. And then these two snake-like channels called Ida and Pingala Nadi, you'll feel these. You'll feel the energy moving up and down through your spine. When everything is fully open, your insides are pure bliss, pure light, pure love. Right? And don't take my word for it. Just, study all the great teachings and study the great masters. And they found, like, look at this picture. We see people's bodies, but what is this monk doing? He's cultivating his chi in the higher chakras, in the heart chakra, and in the lower chakras. There's mastery. This is all anahat meditation stuff. This is mastery in all levels. But what's inside of this body? Light. You are the light of the world, right? And you can cultivate this chi. It becomes a power. In Sanskrit, it's called sanyam, the ability to take the concentrated power of meditation and put it upon anything. That's where all the yogic powers come from, is the intense concentration that comes from deep meditation. So hopefully that inspires you to meditate. Let me show you the Life Mastery course and put all this together now. So the Life Mastery course begins with finding what is your core mission statement. And if you want to ask me questions later about how do I actually do the Life Mastery course, this is a non-linear approach to the Life Mastery course, but I have linear ways to take you through, like a workbook and CU course or whatever. Your mission statement, why are you on the planet? We talked about that in a past class. Your life principles we talked about. The reason for principles, I'll just show you them briefly. Here are my 12 life principles explained with sentences: God, truth, love, ahimsa, nonviolence to others, service and simplicity, silence, solitude, abstinence, or the Sanskrit is really brahmachari, to walk with God, which also includes controlling the sexual energy, not misusing it, and actually transmuting it into higher states of consciousness, respect for all others and their path, humility and discipline. Also, we talked about the bodhisattva precepts. This one, actually, we're going to look at another slide. So why are these so important, life principles? Most people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people don't quite know the rules of the road, right? The great saints have realized, look, if you want to grow spiritually and have a peaceful life, don't kill, don't steal, don't misuse your sexuality, don't lie. We talked about why all these are so important. But basically, that is what the life principles are about in life mastery. Know why you're on the planet and know how you're going to do what you do. And you just write that stuff out. I'm going to live from love, integrity, kindness, goodness. Why? Because if not, it's adharmic, meaning not in harmony with God. Your dharma is your purpose and your mission. To do anything else is always a mistake. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, it is better to do your dharma poorly than someone else's dharma well. So the work I do is not perfect. I go for like a 93%, maybe 95%, but it's more than good enough, right? More than good enough. So we just put ourselves out there with the highest principles and values. Why? Because someone who's in an enlightened state of consciousness just does that. It's just the way Buddha lives. It's not a commandment. It's not a should. It's just how do enlightened masters live? They teach, they serve, they heal, they're charitable, they're philanthropic. Why? Because once you have it, all you want to do is give it away. Once you have the peace, love, joy, bliss of God in you, all you want to do is give it away, not because it's selfish and you think you're going to be fulfilled by being nice to others. You know we're all one, right? If my left hand is suffering, my right hand has a vested interest in helping my left hand because we're part of the same being. If this hand is weak, this hand is going to suffer. If this hand has money, this hand has money. If this hand has food, this hand has food. If you are suffering, I'm suffering. That's the deep realization. And the oneness teaching is so like beautifully exemplified in the great saints, where they do feel other people's pain. They do take on their karma. So anyway, it's about living from that space in this model. Universal laws, I don't think we've really covered yet. I don't plan on doing that tonight, but a good book I'd recommend is Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Those are the top 7 that I like to reference. So why universal law? Again, know the rules of the road. How does the universe actually operate? Does giving work or should you only be taking? Do you have to work hard or can it be law of least effort? Right. So understanding universal law really helps to align your life with these higher principles. Life categories prioritize, we talked about in a past class. So if you haven't done, and then we'll come back to vision in just a moment. So basically, one sec. Yeah, this is like a life categories prioritized. So think about, you've got all these categories in your life. These are put in a healthy order. You want to have success in every one of these categories. So spirituality, and then write down what you do for your spirituality. It's one thing to say, my spirituality is the most important thing. But what do you do? Do you meditate? How many hours a day do you meditate? Hours? It's the most important thing. So why not hours? To me, the reason I'm emphasizing spiritual teachings is it really is the secret to success. Because first of all, you want to be peaceful, happy, and connected to source. And when you are, you're at peace under all circumstances. Start there. And then get your mind aligned with spirit and your heart aligned with spirit, which is mental emotional health. Get your body really healthy and functional so you can utilize it in a way to be of service to others. Then have an awesome career, awesome relationships, and everything else falls into place. This is the prioritized order I recommend. But again, if you're doing the Life Mastery course, write down what you do in each category and start to visualize. Now we're going to get into, in a moment, vision. What is your vision? How do you know what your vision is? Like, why am I here? So again, I kind of gave you the tip. Go into the deepest meditation you can. And usually it's higher chakras type of thing. Ask, because you could ask any chakra level a question. Down at your sexual region, just say, what turns me on? Go to your heart level and say, how are you feeling? You'll get answers if you ask at different levels. You can go to your third chakra if you have like, upset stomach. What's your story? What are you all about? Oh, you're angry. Okay, why are you angry? You could ask and receive. Do that in the higher chakras and just say, whatever you call her, just say, Mother, what, God, what is my purpose? What is my mission? And just get quiet. You could keep asking, but remember, if you're going to ask someone a question, learn to be quiet and listen to the answer. So it's about what is your vision on all these levels. So for instance, what type of home would you see yourself living in an ideally beautiful life? What free time and recreation, how much time would you have and what would you be doing? I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week. And you can read the book, or it's probably an audio. The 4-Hour Work Week. I don't recommend going 4 hours so quickly. It took me a while to learn how to step away from things. But he said you have to make a list of all the things you're going to love to do when you have more free time. And free time recreation is pretty high up in this list because you deserve to enjoy your life, right? It's a beautiful planet. Like get out there while it's still still green. So free time and recreation. Yeah. So basically, what would your life look like if all these categories were successful? What kind of partner would you be with? I always felt like I really don't need a lot of people. I just want one wonderful partner and live alone in the mountains somewhere. And that's what's happening now. Right? But this isn't goal setting. This is knowing who you are and what's right for you. Right? It's not just about picking and choosing the stuff you think is appealing, but actually truly listening to the inner guidance. I'll give you one other tip on the chakra system for how do you know if it's a yes? If there's any no, it's probably just a no. But look at the chakras here. You could ask at each chakra, do you love your husband? No, if that whole thing locks up, it's communicating something, right? Do you love your kids? Yes, right? Every chakra could feel yes or no. It constricts or it opens. Fear constricts and is not of God. Love extends and opens and is of God. Fear tends to be cold and defensive. Love tends to be open and expanding. So learn what your yes is and learn when a chakra closes. Like if I say you're weak and pathetic and never amount to anything, you might feel in your belly like, ugh, that's your third chakra going, wrong thought, right? If I'm judging you and telling you you're weak, you'll probably feel some anger in your stomach. That's that chakra communicating. So it's not just words that communicate, but if you have a vision, like let's talk about opening a pet store. So I'm going to think about opening a, pet shop. All right, first chakra, how does that feel right now to me financially? First chakra is very much financial. No, I'd be pulling money away from my dharma. Two, second chakra, pleasure. Is it pleasurable? I love animals, but no, it wouldn't be pleasurable for me to be doing that. Third chakra, would it make me feel like my life's purpose is truly meaningful? No, it would not make me feel empowered. Would I love it with all my heart? I want to go every day. Personally, no. But for you, you might be like, are you kidding? It's not universal. You might be like, I would love to, I have the money to open a pet shop. I love animals. It would make me feel so good to help animals. My heart would feel so open. You're getting yeses for that, right? So it's not universal. We're not all meant to, run, be a priest at a temple, right? Like, what is your dharma? What is your purpose? How do you know? Every chakra lights up and says yes. Part of your mind might be like, really? I'm that amazing? But that's humility, not arrogance would be, no, God, I'm not that incredible. I can't do that. That's totally arrogant because if God tells you you can do something and you disagree, it's arrogance, not humility. Humility is if spirit says to you, you're going to do amazing things in this planet, you say, okay, that's humble because if somebody created you and they did better than you ever could have done, and they can make your life better than you ever could, you start listening to that. So it's again learning to let super conscious mind run your life, not conscious, not subconscious, not your neurotic heart and mind. Let super conscious, higher self, oversoul, the Holy Spirit, God, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, let that run your life. And how do you know when it's speaking? All the chakras are going to say yes. Now they might lock up because you're afraid, but you sort out the difference. Like, well, this is a wonderful vision. It feels right, but I'm scared. Good. Clear the blocks. Do the awareness of love's presence. Clear your fear. Fear is just ruining lives. Fear ruins lives, right? Don't live from fear. Live from love. When all the chakras open and you feel it and you feel wonderful inside, that's usually meaning you're on the right track. So the inner barometer are your feelings here. Don't plan on God telling you, you will now do this with words. There's going to be images and feelings. That goes back to here. We haven't really talked about it yet. The creating and manifesting process, clarity of intent. Once you know what your vision, so if you look here on the left, vision, long-term, mid-range, short-term vision. What would it look like? Now, you're not going to see all of it right away, but here's a Course in Miracles quote that will help. One of the lessons in A Course in Miracles, above all else I want to see. Above all else I want to see. Why is that the indication in A Course in Miracles? It could be above all else I want to eat at Joe's. Above all else I want New York pizza. Why? It could have been anything. But Christ in Course in Miracles says, above all else I want to see, not smell. And above all else I want to taste. No, it's above all else I want to see. Again, I'm not talking about human goal setting. I'm talking about divinely inspired vision. All right. So, what is your vision? When you work backwards here, you're actually going down the chakra system. But long-term vision is usually where would it be in like 5 to 10 years? Um, so look at each life category and you meditate on where would I like to be in 10 years spiritually? I'll study the great masters and want to be like them. Study Ramakrishna, Yogananda, Meher Baba, study Christ, like study Buddha. Right? Like they're good role models. Become like those beings. And there's beautiful women saints too. So my apologies for not mentioning Anandamoy Ma and Ma Yoga Shakti and Amachi and all the other great ones. Yes, there's plenty of saints and sages from every gender and ethnicity and race and all that. But yeah, like what would it look like if you were feeling what they feel, experiencing what they feel? What would it be like to be truly mentally, emotionally healthy? So again, what is the vision of that for you for all these categories in the long term, the mid-range, and the short term? So long term is like 5 to 10 years. What would it look like? I'll tell you. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I'll tell you mine briefly. So we're Anahat Education Group that started as Anahat Meditation Center, but I kept getting more and more downloads about Anahat University, Anahat Monastery. And I'm like, oh, that's a really big vision. I remember I had a client, he came in and said he wanted to start a university. I'm like, wow, like I'm going to support him to dream big, but like, wow. So when Spirit starts giving me those kind of downloads, it's a big, big vision. Will I ever reach it in this lifetime? I don't know, but it's the lighthouse to move towards. So your big vision is working backwards. What would it look like when it's all accomplished? The problem with short-term goal setting is you're like, I just want the new home, in this city because I like that city. But why are you choosing that home in that city? I'm closer to my mom, closer to my kids. But is that your vision or is that just a short-term goal? If you're in an ocean drowning and your kid is over to the left, and you're like, well, that seems more comfortable. Let me go hang out with my children. Um, but you're going to both drown. You never got to the lighthouse. See the lighthouse on the shore? I'm not saying leave your kid in the ocean, but I'm saying like if you're drowning in the ocean, you shouldn't be going to the next most comfortable spot. You should see where the lighthouse is on the shore and go only to that. That's the phrase, keep both eyes on God. Keep both eyes on your higher chakra, oneness with spirit, and your third eye, oneness with your vision. The vision is here. And you might get pictures, you might get words, just intuitions, but if you ask and keep opening to, I promise you'll receive. It's impossible not to because it's in there. You don't even have to ask. You just have to get quiet and with a subtle intention. So when we do creating and manifesting, you need to have clarity of intent. This process will get you the clarity you're looking for. All thought inevitably externalizes itself. Your mind will inevitably manifest realities. So here we go into deep, we align, we know what we want, so we can get it, right? What do you want? You want this beautiful life, and you can see the picture of it more and more. 3 to 5 years, mid-range, like halfway there, and short-term vision, what would happen in about a year or two? You have clarity of intent of what that looks like. You're aligned with universal laws and life principles. You go into deep meditation, which I'll be happy to teach you more about, and then we visualize the outcome. What is the outcome? When we're talking life mastery, like you could do short term. All right, in a year or two, what is my life going to look like? You could be specific. What kind of car will I have? How much money is in the bank accounts? Or you could be really general, right? I'm just seeing, my family, my home, my car, my career, my health, my exercising. You can see the whole picture, or you can chunk down and see parts of it. But you're going to be, and this becomes a habit. You could say, like, when do we do this? Honestly, kind of all the time. I mean, at least 5 minutes morning and evening, you could align your mind with this. So basically, you're going to see the reality of what you're pulling into your life. You get strong emotion, again, powerful, positive emotion. Trust your joy, follow your bliss. You use the power of suggestion to align your mind on or before this date. I have this many clients or more. I have this much money or more. I have this home. So you're thinking it, feeling it, and seeing it. And then later we can go in through the rest of the formula, but simply you have to believe it's possible or you'll sabotage it. You have to want it. You have to be willing to accept it and all the responsibility that goes with it. There's always a responsibility with doing your dharma. And it's other people will be dependent on you because you're being of service to others and maybe employing others. So there's definitely responsibility with being healthy and doing your life's mission, but it's meaningful and purposeful. And then you just expect it's happening. Remember, I thank you, God, for your guarantee of only happy outcomes. You didn't create your life vision, you're just tapping into it. So, is it inevitable that you're going to fulfill your life vision? No, many people, because of free will, don't fulfill it. And the life feels meaningless and pointless. And why was I even here? Lots of people find that bodily death happens occur before they fulfill a mission. And what do those teachings usually say? Well, you come back and do it again. You come back and try again. The reincarnation model says basically you're going to keep coming back until you wise up, until you get it right. Not just you have to do it right, but like, did you fulfill your mission? There's one story, and then at 8 o'clock, 5 more minutes, and maybe check in with some Q&A. Maybe you heard me tell this by Rumi. A king sends a man to another country to perform one task. He performs many tasks, but not the one task the king asked him to do. He did lots of great things, but didn't do the one thing he was asked to do. When he comes back years later to the king and gives the report, he says, "Great king, I did all this good stuff for you." And the king says, "But did you do the one thing I asked you to do?" "No, no, but I did lots of other good stuff." That means dharmic. He didn't do his mission. He did something that was not his dharma, not his mission. And the king basically is like, go back and do it again. That's why you were sent to that country. So why are you on earth? A Course in Miracles says, I'm only here to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. That's either true or not true. You're here to be harmful to others or helpful to others. Eddie Izzard, if you know that comedian, cake or death. Go to YouTube and look up Eddie Izzard, cake or death. Super funny. You want cake or you want death? Cake, please. Right. So you're going to be helpful or harmful? Helpful. All right. Love or hate. If you're trying to figure out what is your mission, start with those overgeneralizations. Cruelty or kindness? Kindness, please. Yeah. Giving or greed? I'll be giving. All right. Philanthropic or needy? Philanthropic. Right. You can get pretty clear on what your vision is by just being that simple. Right. Peace or chaos? Peace, please. Right. So once you get a clear sense of, I know what I want, but if it's not in your life yet, then you basically start putting your attention on what you want. Put your attention on what you want. So you're inevitably going to get it, especially when you can see it, feel it, and can think about it. And again, this isn't just a class on getting what you want, like manifesting your soulmate. That's part of this whole thing. But it's really about coming into harmony with your divine self and letting the divine guide your life. That's what step 12 is, surrender. Learning that you can really do very little and fulfill your mission because so much of it comes from your stillness, from your presence, from your awareness, not from your constant doing. So surrender is basically learning to let the divine run your life. Let the divine sort out your mind. You learn to think the thoughts you think with God instead of your own egoic thinking. So as the vision becomes clearer in your mind, you can start plugging it into the creating and manifesting formula. Number 10, expectation is when you affirm in your mind, I expect this. I know it's happening. It is inevitable. That new job, and again, I'm not advocating a job, but whatever it is you're working to pull into your life, I know that's happening. That's inevitable. And then commitment is actually you walk the talk. You enter the marketplace with helping hands. If you're a hypnotherapist, and you're just waiting for clients to come to you, commitment says, no, get out there and advertise, give some lectures, right? Build a website, get on social media. When you have something valuable and you want to give it away, you promote yourself. Diane Fortune in the book, The Mystical Kabbalah, she said, true spirituality does not advertise itself. So you're not walking around advertising that you're enlightened. You're advertising, you're letting, and I'm not saying depends on what the dharma is, but a lot of people this day and age, if you want people to get to know you and have sessions with you or whatnot, we advertise, right? We put the word out there. So commitment is not just I sit in meditation all day waiting for my students and clients or who I'm going to serve, however, to come to me, although there's a lot of truth to that. It's also taking action the way any other successful person would take action. Because I think there's a tendency for spiritual people to think, I'll just do it through meditation and it'll just happen. There's a teaching, though, that you might find helpful in this regard. Don't go out to energies, let energies come to you. when you're vibrating at these higher levels that we're talking about, you become a magnet for those who want to be around that kind of energy. Like, why do these saints and sages have tons of people flocking to them? Because there's something so wonderful about what they're conveying. So it's technically meant with law of least effort and surrender, meant to be relatively easy. But again, commitment is I'll do what it takes. It doesn't matter how hard it is, right? Like, no matter how hard it is, it doesn't matter because this is my mission. No matter how many setbacks, it doesn't matter. This is my mission. This is where the perseverance and the determination comes in for people who really succeed because they know their vision and there's nothing else to do. You put yourself into a corner, there's nowhere else to go but forward and into success. So why don't we go to Q&A? And oh, I just want to show one more thing. We talked about life principles in relationship to all this and the precepts, but let's just look at the Buddhist bodhisattva vows for a moment. In Buddhism, so the ox herding pictures originally were Taoist, and the teaching was basically get to the top of the mountain and you're liberated. And then it moved into Buddhism. But as Buddhism evolved, they started saying, wait, we're one with all things. I feel a lot of compassion for my brothers and sisters who are suffering. We're all Buddha, and I'm watching Buddha suffering. So yeah, enter the marketplace with helping hands. This is the descending triangle. It's coming down from the top of the mountain, right? You've achieved what you wanted for yourself, but now you want to go give it to others. The bodhisattva vows relate to that. So what is a bodhisattva? It's someone who has achieved very high states of spirituality. However, they realize sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. This is the first vow, and it's the main one, we'll look at tonight. So why would somebody who realizes I'm one with all beings, therefore I'm just going to serve them? Because again, we're one with all beings. This could be a vow you formally or informally take. You could say right now, just say sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. If you mean it, then you just took the bodhisattva vow. And the bodhisattva basically says, until all the suffering is done, I'm not going to stop. Now, will the body die? Sure. Will your intention to keep serving all beings, physically or non-physically, ever stop? No. So the vow might seem overwhelming, and these vows might be considered impossible. But what else are you going to do? Right? Like, they're suffering. So I'm going to keep working to make the suffering better. Is some other divine being helping? I don't know. I hope so, but I'm going to. Right? If I don't see Jesus descending down from the clouds, okay, well, then I'm going to. I'm here. I'm going to make a difference. If a bodhisattva found themselves in hell, they would just build an ashram. They would just open churches and monasteries. I think it was the Dalai Lama who said, when the world is on fire, which it kind of is now, it's only the bodhisattvas who are going to bring water to those in need. Right? The bodhisattvas are the ones who are being of service to humanity selflessly, because they know they're one with humanity. So you could say you're going to make a vow, but really it's an inevitability when you just realize we're all one. I have a purpose. It's meant to help to relieve the suffering of all beings and bring us all back into oneness. And I'm committed to it. I would encourage you to really consider, if you're still listening, like, take the bodhisattva vows and don't feel like, oh no, that's only for, the most elite spiritual practitioners. It's for anybody who wants to help others, right? As long as, and sentient beings means feeling beings, not just humans. My Dharma is very much healing humans, because I've realized it's the human mind that's the problem. I don't see animals starting these kind of wars, right? Animals, we all have our issues, but human beings, serious issues, right? But you'll know what your dharma is. Which sentient beings do you focus on? Mine is very much helping to heal the human mind and heart. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. What this means is all of the useless journeys, the constant detours into fear, the doing things that aren't in alignment with spirit, I'm letting it go. Everything my ego does that tells me there's something else but God's will for me and my will one with that. I'm letting all of the distractions go, and I am laser focused on my mission. The bodhisattva vow, when you really get to the feeling of, yes, it's serious because it's a matter of life or death. Literally, people will die if you don't take this vow. That's how serious it is, right? If you don't fulfill your mission, you will suffer. You don't want you and your family to suffer. So like you realize like this is serious. This is literally people dying of cancer or not. Right? It's so beautiful. I know one person here felt with that. I have a new client I'm working with cancer now, and yeah, the blood levels are back pre-diagnosis, and the tumors are shrinking. Like you can heal. Course in Miracles says you can heal the sick and raise the dead. You're extremely powerful, right? But if you have other desires for other things besides healing and enlightenment, usually you're on the wrong track. The dharmas, the teachings are boundless. I vow to master them. So dharmas are teachings, but they're also like your dharma, but really it's like you're mastering yourself, self-mastery, life mastery, and the teachings that you need to embody to be able to fulfill that. It just doesn't mean learn everything, but learn what you need to be able to fulfill your mission. Like get more education if you feel like, but I don't have a credential, right? What's the right credential? Then you get it. The Buddha way is unattainable. I vow to attain it, right? Buddha achieves liberation from all suffering. It seems like an endless task, but we're going to do it anyway. Why? Because what else are you going to do? You're either going to awaken to the truth of who you are or stay sleeping in Plato's cave, right? For those who know the allegory of the cave, right? The idea that people are in a cave and all they can see are the shadows on the wall. They've never seen the real world out there. Once you see the real world out there and you're like, whoa, it's beautiful, you go back to the people in the cave. There's the ocean frog and the well frog story of the ocean frog. It's got the whole ocean, all the sun, all the water, all the sky, comes inland and sees a well. And he looks down and there's a frog down there. And he says, what are you doing down there? And the well frog is like, what? I've got water. I got sunlight. I can swim around. He's like, no, no, there's a whole ocean here. No, no, I've got an ocean. No, no, you got a little bit of water. You got a little bit of light. You got a little bit of freedom. There's a whole ocean. Well, frogs who have achieved that, or those who become butterflies, come back and help the caterpillars, right? The caterpillar has the potential to butterfly, but it doesn't know that. It's in avidya. It's not knowing. It's ignorant to who it truly is and what its potential is. So once you reach the top, the bodhisattva vow says, of course, you're coming back down again to be of service, because that's how the game appears to work. So I hope that helps to align your vision with these themes. Let's go to any Q&A, and then if you like, you can do a brief meditation that can guide you into that inner listening. Any questions you're sharing? All right, why don't we take 5 or 10 minutes if you like, and close your eyes. So I invite you with eyes closed to let go of the external world. Just take a few minutes to give this time to yourself and to kind of move beyond time, beyond space. Instead of doing, let's just practice being. Instead of being externally oriented, start to become more internally oriented. You can focus on your breath because the breath is always here and now. Let's let go of the past and let go of the future, right? Time and space. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist yet. There's only now, this holy instant. The only place you could actually find these answers of who you are and what you're meant to do. So with eyes closed, you're cutting off 80% of sensory stimulus, and you can just start to forget about the external world. You weren't thinking about Mars and Jupiter. There's lots of stuff you're not thinking about. So just forget everything for a moment and choose to put your attention deep within. I encourage you to put your attention at the bridge of your nose, where your forehead comes down and merges into your nose. Put your attention there. Sense your two physical eyes. Like really be very aware of your eyeballs. It's kind of weird. You really just focus on the human, the physical. But then go deeper inside. And again, not your brain, but the space you experience deep within there. The place where you know that you're aware. You might call it the I am presence. You'll know you're going in the right direction because it starts getting more and more peaceful. There's no more philosophy or religion here. This transcends all of that. But you're experiencing just by moving within what the teachings point us to, the beauty of your own soul. Soul is spirit, soul is consciousness. It's not some abstract thing you have, it's you. It's the you who's having the human experience. I am aware that I am. Just let the mind keep settling down. You don't have to stop your mind, just go above it. You don't have to stop your emotions, just go above them. Sense that time and space is happening kind of down there. But the formless beyond time and space is actually rather easy to find between your ears, behind your eyes. Keep feeling like you're moving into the crown of the head from the inside, going in and up and going even further back. As if you're kind of behind your head, but not floating above the physical body, deep within the space of pure consciousness. Feel like a balloon that was untied. It just floats up into that space. Spirit naturally wants to return to its essence. This is only hard if you think there's something else to achieve out there. No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth, so just turn the light around. Turn your attention inwards. In yoga, it's called pratyahara, sense withdrawal. Pull away from the ears and go up into the knower, the observer, the witness. Pull away from the eyes up into consciousness. Pulling away from the tongue and the nose, nothing to smell or taste now. And pull away from the feelings of the body. Think of the empty circle or a sphere. The sphere in sacred geometry represents spirit. It's a known distance. Notice how your consciousness is a known distance, a sphere of awareness. The more you go into it, you'll feel peaceful and blissful. You're actually tapping into love. Yet you might only feel that in relationship to others or to the divine. But this space is peace, love, joy, and bliss. First, find that space, letting everything get really quiet. Then as you're turning your attention inwards, you find your mind nice and quiet. Discern the difference between your monkey mind, your mental chatter, and the silence. In the silence, you could ask a question and receive an answer. Imagine as if you're focused kind of above your forehead, in front, not in the room, but in the space, as if your higher self, the Holy Spirit, your divine advisor, is right in front of you, literally closer than your jugular vein. It says in the Quran, God is closer than your jugular vein. Just ask, who am I? And then get quiet. Maybe you'll hear a word. Maybe you'll just sense the silent presence of peace. Don't think that's not an answer. If you say, who am I? And all that's left is peace, that's a really good answer. If you said, who am I? And all that's left is bliss and joy, that's your answer. So learn to communicate with spirit beyond words. It's not talking, it's communicating. It's communion. It's union, and it's communion. Union, one with God, and communion, God, who am I? Whatever you call that reality, it's right there. But then also remember this beingness has guidance for you. So you could ask, what am I meant to do on this planet? Or how can I be of service? Or just what's next? What do I do tomorrow? The Course in Miracles says, how does the advanced teacher of God spend his or her day? It says to the advanced teacher of God, this question is meaningless because they keep in constant contact with the answer, and they're always told whatever they need to know. So just remember to turn within, to ask, who am I? How may I be of service? What's next? Or any other question that seems relevant. Take a moment as I'm silent. Just practice asking and receiving. Then invite you to imagine all the peace, light, love, joy, bliss of spirit above starts to melt down into your body. Start bringing your attention down through your face, through your shoulders, your neck. Feel all the chakras open, your heart open, your belly open, below your navel, down to your tailbone. Let the light come pouring in. What would it mean to be inspired, to live a divinely inspired life, to walk the talk, to enter the marketplace with helping hands? So the top of the mountain, you might say, is at the top of the chakra system. And then there's the descent. You're going to bring the divine guidance, the vision, the passion, the compassion down into this world, down the chakra system, into your hands, entering the marketplace with helping hands. Maybe for some of you, that feels like Reiki coming down through the higher chakras, through the heart, through your hands. Maybe it comes down through your throat for teachings, or just the way you talk to your children or your spouse or colleagues. What would it mean to come down, to enter the marketplace with helping hands as a healed healer, as a bodhisattva? What would it look like? Your life in this world, living a divinely inspired mission. What would a life of selfless service look like? Remember to trust your joy, follow your bliss, or trust your yes. Does it feel good? Does it make you happy? Does it feel harmonious? Yes. Remembering there's no problems in truth. So once you're aligned with truth, let me recognize my problems are already solved. Those who are in perfect certainty have no real challenge. You know exactly what to do. And whatever you need to be told will be told. Whatever you need to say will come through you. It's trusting and allowing and surrendering to divine intelligence. And one closing image in the Bhagavad Gita, God, Krishna, is driving Arjun's chariot, not the other way around. The soul is in the back of the chariot, the passenger. God's not your co-pilot, God's your pilot. You're just along for the ride. Yet remember, that's your greatest joy because it is your will. It's your happiness to fulfill your mission on this earth. But remember, God's driving the chariot, not you. You take your time. One way to come out of meditation is to just rub your palms together and then to massage your face. So it's really nice. Instead of like a hypnotic counting out, just rub your palms together, massage your face, your neck, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and check in. All right. Thank you, everybody, for indulging me with that. Any sharing or questions? Anything I'd like to share what may have come to you, or thank you. Grishka put in the chat our retreat. Um, retreat.instituteofhypnotherapy.com. But if you go to instituteofhypnotherapy.com, you'll see retreats up there. And yeah, we'll be living this type of stuff up here in the Adirondack Mountains in a beautiful mansion on April the 23rd. So yeah, Sharon.
Oh, hi. I was just gonna say that, like sometimes I question the guidance I got in the past about
Mhm.
my mission. Um, because I'm kind of new at this.
Sure.
But then this time I got a reminder of the vision I had in the past when, like the first time that I asked this question to spirit and
Mm.
um I got an answer. I mean, it was like a little picture. I don't get words, I get
Uh-huh.
pictures.
Good.
But I kind of knew what I meant. It was
Uh-huh.
the only thing it possibly could have meant for me. So
Hmm.
I just got a reminder of that because sometimes I question it,
Yeah, sure, sure.
because this is a new thing for me, right? So
Yeah.
I don't
Uh,
know.
no, that's beautiful. A Course in Miracles says if you want to know what the peace of God is like, it's nothing like the past. We seek a future different than the past. So that I don't know is like totally appropriate. I don't know. It's going to be new. Like it's a consistent message. I'm not saying that the message changes, the vision changes. That's going to be there all the time. It'll never go away. Anahat for me, Anahat Education Group, all this stuff never goes away, but it came to me, like the Anahat meditation system came to me. I didn't invent it, and it's not in any other book. So I'm like, why am I teaching this? Why did this come to me? This is just something I made up. But more and more, I'm like, no, it's not. Since 1996, when that came to me 30 years ago, it's never gone away. So your thing that came to you, it's just going to get more and more clear over time. Things become clear over time. And when it's constantly there, yeah. So the peace of God, the experience is like always new and fresh because you're always open-minded. There's 10 qualities of a Course in Miracles teacher in A Course in Miracles. What are 10 qualities of a teacher of God, an advanced teacher of God? And one is open-mindedness. So that's what I heard you saying. Just keep the mind open. But when spirit keeps repeating the same thing, you're like, no, God doesn't change your mind about your mission. Yeah, but it does. It'll come in visions, but you'll get hints too, and you'll start attracting people, and everything starts collabor collaborating. What is that word? Collaborating. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like life just
Collaborating,
starts
cooperating.
collaborating. It's cooperate, like affirming.
Oh,
Life affirms, like
corroborating. Okay,
yeah,
I got it.
like you attract the right people, and you're like, oh, these people want to help me with my mission, right? Like, oh, I guess it's not my mission. I guess like people are realizing, like, hey,
Ah.
like, I'm so, yeah, you're not alone in your mission. You will keep attracting
Mm.
more people and it just starts affirming, like, whoa, this is what I'm meant to do. So that's beautiful that you tapped into the same consistent thing.
Yeah, like that's actually been happening, what you're just talking about. So
Uh-huh.
thank you for that. But like I think it's more about I doubt myself. I doubt this practice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess. I don't
No,
know.
I get it. Sure. A Course in Miracles says, if you're here on earth, you will suffer from fear and doubt, but you can question why you have the fear and doubt and let it go, because spirit doesn't fear and it doesn't doubt. It just knows. And it's not perception. It's not like, well, that's my point of view. Maybe right point of view or wrong point of view. Spirit knows. It's not right or wrong. It's just truth. And when you're aligned with that, it's the certainty they said of Christ with his miracles. That he was one who spoke with authority. Where did that authority come from? Not from man, not from credentials. He was a carpenter or something. We don't know much about the story, but we don't know much of his history. But we do have some sense of the power that came through that being, right? That's certainty, that's authority, that's a divine mission that can't be questioned. And yeah, we each have our part to play in that. So yeah, there's a conviction that's with it. But yeah, that usually comes with time. Let the fear and doubt drop away. So when you meditate, you get to the place in present moment awareness of no fear. And then all that's left is to stay on with your mission. But how are we going to pay? Like my staff lately, like Krishna, I was like, this is real expensive making this vision happen. But every time I turn to God, it's like, we got this. We got this. I'm like, really? We got this. So that's the trust is part of two other qualities of a teacher of God in Course in Miracles are trust and honesty. Right? You're radically honest and you totally trust and you live with open-mindedness. And one of the other qualities is joy. You're just happy to be being of service, just yeah, doing your mission. So thanks, Sharon. Awesome.
Well,
Any other
thank
sharing or
you.
questions? All right, great. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here. We'll be here in 2 weeks again, and the next class is dedicated to the getting organized process itself. So we can go a little bit deeper into like how do you organize a binder or a PowerPoint presentation. So I can really go into each step of the Life Mastery course and the creating and manifesting process. So hopefully for those of you who are really into this, by in 2 weeks, have some sense of what your vision is, because then we'll talk about how to map it out and how to manifest it. So that's what's next. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
So much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.